Hi and welcome back to the second edition of Q&A with the reptile dysfunction. One of the most common questions I've received lately is about the business name. Why the reptile dysfunction? Well, our main focus is reptiles, and it's just a play on words, plain and simple. But we're not limited to reptiles. We do fish and we do supplies, and we do a whole lot of different stuff. We're not getting into the cat, dog, bird, sort of normal, run-of-the-mill stuff. We're doing something a little bit different. I've been keeping and breeding African cichlids and other fish for a long, long time. A few years ago I got out of it for a little while, just cut back just because I couldn't keep up with what I was doing. Didn't have the room for the tanks and so on, so I got out of it. I sold off all my tanks and I'm getting back into it, into keeping them and breeding them. But in saying that, you don't forget the knowledge. So my thing is I really like to help people with their fish. So I'll go into a few of the questions we've got here, other questions. Now that I've sort of covered that, feel free to send us an email. The email is listed here. Let us know what you want to know. Thanks. I'll just view these emails and we'll go from there. Okay, so the first one, asking about the Altolamprologus family, the Calvus and Compressiceps. One of my favourite fish, odd sort of shaped, but really cool. They have their place and I think they do sort of set things off a little bit. They're a Tanganyikan cichlid from obviously Lake Tanganyika. For those that don't know, that's a lake in Africa, one of the largest. There's a documentary on that lake called Jewel of the Rift. Awesome documentary. Shows the fish in their natural habitat and it's just amazing to watch. Now, sorry, it's been one of those days. So the Calvus Compressiceps, very similar fish. The main difference is the nose. One has the Compressiceps generally has a bit shorter nose and a bit more of a curve. And the body, the Compressiceps has bars that run down and the Calvus has more of the spots. I like both. I think both of them look awesome. The Compressiceps generally has a few more colour variants than the Calvus, but I like both. My favourite would be the firefin Compressiceps and the black Calvus. So will they live with others? Yes. Depending, honest. They're a carnivore. They're a predatory fish, and if they can fit a fish in their mouth, they'll eat it. So the only issue you have is when you put these guys with small fish. The small fish are just going to be food. That's just how it works. And that's pretty much with every fish. They eat at times. Some fish will eat others. So you really got to be picky about what you put with them. And obviously you don't want to put these guys with something that's big enough to eat them. They're fairly slow growing sort of fish. From hatching to 3 centimetres can be 6 to 8 months, whereas with a lot of other fish you can get 3 centimetres in 2 months, a month. It all depends on what they're fed and it depends on what fish is. They're generally quiet sort of fish and they do their own thing a lot of the time. They don't get defensive and fighting other fish and all that sort of stuff. They do their own thing. But as I said, the only problems you're going to have is when there's small fish around, fry, whatever, they can eat them, and they will. So a little bit of info about these fish is that they come in different variants and different colours depending on where in the lake they were found. Different locations of the lake have different colour variations. As with all African cichlids, they have different lake locations or localities, generally produce different colours. The compressiceps, they come in gold head, fire fin, black cheek, black with a copper head, and I think that's about it. They come in an orangey sort of variation, the fire fin and the gold. You do get variations of that, obviously, as with everything. There is variation. So there's what they call a red, which is more of the orangey red, and then there's the goldy sort of yellow colour. So, and they're just, some of those are variations of the same locality, some are different localities. The calvus come in very minimal colours compared to the compressiceps, and those are black, white and yellow. They do have a zebra form, which looks a lot like your, I guess you could say your blacker sort of compressiceps with the bars and some of the spots, but they're genetically a calvus. They'll lay, they're a cave spawner. So if you want to breed these guys, you want to keep caves, pots with holes in them small enough that only the females can get into. Barnacle clusters, shells, whatever, some sort of cave-like substitute. They'll lay about 200 eggs, or up to 200 eggs, which sounds like a lot, but the success rate out of that is not going to be 100%. The chances of getting 100% success rate out of 200 eggs, it's not there. I mean, you may get 50 to 80%, you may get less. It depends on how well they've been fertilised, and it depends on any other predators around. But as with all fish, you do get fatalities in babies. I mean, it does happen. A slight damage to an egg and you'll get a deformity. There's all those possibilities. There are fish that I generally recommend to people, if you have a display aquarium, put one or two of these guys in, because they just sort of break up that standard sort of fish shape. As long as you don't have babies, you're not going to have problems, as I've said. But the shape of their head, that odd sort of shape, breaks up the monotonous standard fish shape, and I think that odd shape is what really attracts me to these guys. There's something that I really think looks awesome. The next question was another Tanganyikan cichlid. The Lamprologus family, commonly known, not just the Lamprologus family obviously, but the Lamprologus ocellatus, speciosus and meleagris or meligris, depending on how you want to say it. They're a shell-dwelling cichlid. They're very small. A lot of times just called Aussies for short, no matter which one you've got, whether it's black, blue, gold, the pearly, which is, there's all different colours, but they're actually different species in most of the cases. Ocellatus are one of my other favourite cichlids. They're awesome little, like bulldogs on steroids. They're tiny. Obviously they live in snail shells, so they are very small, but they've just got that attitude. They've got, you put your hand near their shell, they'll punch on. You know, they'll bite you, they'll attack you, they'll have a go. They're not scared of anything, and I think that's one of the cool parts about them. They're not obvious when sexing. There's no obvious differences, and they don't have massive clutches of eggs. They lay their eggs in shells. Males and females in the Ocellatus family generally can fit in the shells. Some other shell dwellers, the males are too big to fit in the shells. So you generally get the female that gets in the shell with those, and the male just comes along and fertilises them from the outside. Whereas the Ocellatus are very similar. Little differences, little subtle differences between the male and female, but not massive obvious differences like with some cichlids. I guess you could call them a cave spawner in a way, but they generally spawn in shells. So something similar to a shell, small cave-like thing, and they'll spawn in that. You'll get males and females that'll go in, they'll do their business, and a few days later you've got little babies swimming around. Very defensive fish, they'll look after their babies 100%, and they'll take on anything that comes near. They're very defensive and very territorial. As with most cichlids, they're territorial. Their home is their territory. You go near it, you're in trouble. And that's one of the things that gets my attention with cichlids is they're territorial. They put on a display when other males come around. They not only fight them off, chase them off, but they display. They flare their fins and they put out all their colours and try and look better than the other males. And not only for the males, but they do it for the females to get them enticed to breed. And this is where you really get that cool patterns, colours. They really show off, and it looks awesome. The compressiceps and calvus, generally, you can keep them 1-to-1. Same with the Ocellatus, speciosus, Aussies in general. You can keep them 1-to-1 if you want, or you can keep one male and a few females. Some say that one male won't fertilise a bunch of different females. And I guess it comes down to what you do and what you've found. Personally, with the Aussies and the Altos, the Calvus and Comps, I've never had that problem where one male won't fertilise multiple females. The biggest thing I've only ever had, like the most amount was one male to 3 females. And it was a case of that male would go around and fertilise the other 3 female, all 3 females, in both cases, the Aussies as well as the Calvus and Comps. So that's how I keep them. I think it depends on the tank you keep them in too. Obviously 2 males are going to fight a lot in a small area. If you've got a massive tank, then you're not going to have that problem. The Calvus and Comps, not so much though. They're generally not a defensive fighting sort of fish, so I haven't had those issues with them, but I have had where one male will fertilise a few different females, and that's always a good thing. So that's just a bit of info for you guys that are into those fish. More questions will come as they come in. If you have any questions, feel free. Email is right here. Put in your request to that email. Send in a question, name. Tell me roughly where you live, what town or what country, whatever. Tell me where you're from. Help us to work out where the people are coming from. Share the videos, tell all your friends. Ask questions, product reviews, fish, reptiles, whatever. I don't care. As long as it's within the grasp or the things that we deal with, I'm always willing to help. Keen to answer questions. More videos to come. As the questions come in, I'll try and answer them as quick as possible. We're moving this week, so bear with me and I'll do my best. Thank you very much.